Welcome back to Advice from a CEO. I'm Bill. I've been a CEO, partner, president, COO for the last 15 years. I've been a partner in a business for the last 15 years. I'm making these videos because I've watched content online that I'm certain these individuals have never owned a business. The last business I was a partner in, we were doing 9 figures annually. I've exited that business. I had 421 team members, just to give you an understanding of my size. And my point in sharing this is to help you. One of the pieces of content that's out there is talking about growth strategies. And in growth strategies, it talks about adding talent, picking talent, and bringing them onto the team, and training them up. So if you're going to use growth strategy, obviously there's 2 ways. One is organic growth, in which you and the individuals at the company are able to grow the business. The other way to do it is obviously acquire companies in your area to get the growth through acquisitions. So today we'll talk about organic growth. If you've got a need, and let's just say this person's a salesperson that you're going to go out and hire to grow your company. If you're going to do that, first, make sure your operations are in good order. Do not have shit operations. And how do you know if you do? Because you have client turnover, constant client turnover, right? I know, I don't even have to say this. You know if you have good operations or bad operations. Because if you spend all this time bringing in an all-star salesperson, if your operations stink, they're leaving. They don't want to be associated with the company. They don't want to bring their network into that business, right? Because when they leave, they're going to leave with their network, and they don't want to have been associated. So first, are your operations in check? Cool. 2, are you ready to pay? So, and what I mean by that is through compensation, you can look at it a couple different ways. One is through their salary. Typically for a salesperson, this is not where the money is going to be made. It's going to be a decent chunk. Let's call it 50%. It all depends on what you're selling, right? But let's say of total compensation, 50% wouldn't be unusual. But that means you got to be ready to pay out bonus of another 50%. And some owners I've seen get hung up on the fact that these salespeople, I mean, I used to have a buddy of mine, he sold 401ks to businesses. So the company he worked for, he'd go in and get your 401k moved over to his company. He did so well in closing deals. He made more money than the CEO. And that CEO was okay with it. Why? Because that CEO was playing the long game, wasn't playing the short game. If you're a CEO or a partner or somebody over this person and you see how much they're making, but you want to play the short game, and the short game is to cut their comp, huge mistake in my opinion. Let the salespeople earn their cash. You know, what you're discounting is what I would call the enterprise value of your business that's incrementally growing, not in a linear way, but with a great salesperson. That's where it is. Obviously, you're going to see the cash going out the door, but you got to keep an eye on what your enterprise value is going to be worth as they continue to crush it out there. So be ready to pay not only their comp, their bonus, but it's not unusual for a killer salesperson to have what I call phantom stock or equity. Now, most owners, even if you give away 1% or 2%, it's literally like getting married to the person. So any personal problems that show up, let's say financially, will affect your partnership because it's very easy for them to follow that back in to the company in which you're a partner in. So I always equate being an equity owner in a business is no different than getting married. And so for that reason, a lot of business owners, and I would actually recommend it if you're a salesperson listening to this, I would highly, highly, highly recommend doing phantom stock. Because phantom stock typically will give you the same appreciation. It won't let you vote. And then the other issue that you'll have to work out with the owners is whether or not the phantom stock vests to a point that if you leave, there's still value there. That if there's a transaction or a distribution of however that phantom stock shows up, there'll be a payout for you. There are tax consequences with all of this. I am not a financial advisor, I am not a CPA, and I am not an attorney. So I would highly recommend going to go find a professional if you're going to get into one of these conversations. So you're hiring a salesperson, just to recap. You got good ops, you're ready to pay them. Now you got to find them. And to go find a killer salesperson, they shouldn't be looking for a job. Typically, from my experience of C-level executives, the really good ones, you go out and get. Typically, they're crushing it. They should be crushing it. That's why they're not looking for a job. And so because of that, typically a referral is the way in. There's plenty of recruiters out there that you can hire to go out and find this person for you as well. But I very rarely have ever had somebody apply for a job, and I've hired thousands of people, thousands and thousands of people. I've hired and fired, actually. And from my experience, I've never found a killer that applied for a job. But once you have them, they'll give it their all and just sit back, get out of their way, and let them go crush business for you. I hope that helps. This is all from my experience. Again, my name's Bill from Advice from a CEO. Until next time, take care.